What is up, sports geeks? It's your host, Josh, here back with another episode. Today, I'm joined by Nick yet again, and we have some Sweet 16 predictions here, rest of the tournament predictions. We are virtual again, but Nick, how you doing today, man?
Doing great, first podcast back since the first week, and I tell you what, it was a crazy week. There's a lot to dive into, for sure.
Yeah, I think it lived up to the hype as far as March Madness goes here. We only have 2 1 seeds in our Sweet 16 here. We have a 15 seed in here. That's the only double-digit seed in the Sweet 16. So I think last year we had 3 or 4 double-digit seeds in the Sweet 16. But we have not had a shortage of upsets this year. So we'll go ahead and start with the South region there. We have Bama taking on San Diego State. San Diego State was a commonly picked upset in the first round against Charleston. Proved the haters wrong, and then was able to take on Furman as Furman upset Virginia. I know you had that right, correct?
I did actually have that right in my bracket, surprisingly.
So do you think that San Diego State is able to get the huge upset here, or do you think Bama just continues to get it done?
This is a really interesting matchup. 2 completely different styles of play. When you look at Alabama, they're run, shoot threes, get downhill on you. And then you look at San Diego State, we're going to slow up the pace. We're going to score 60, 65 on you. We're going to beat you with defense. I think Alabama is just too lengthy for them. When you look at San Diego State in their first 2 games, Charleston really gave them all they could handle. They obviously in the end couldn't get the job done, but they matched up really well. And as we said when we went over this region the first time, San Diego State, they don't have really big guards, and neither did Charleston. They matched up really well in that game, and they had every opportunity to win that game. But obviously San Diego State escapes, and they go on to beat the absolute hell out of Furman. So I don't know. I just think Alabama once again is just way too athletic and way too lengthy for San Diego State. But I think it'll be within 10 points.
I think this is going to be a good game. I think this is going to be the first test for Alabama to really see, okay, are they legit or have they just stomped bad teams? Because, I don't consider Maryland or who'd they get in the first round, Texas Southern, is that what they had?
Yeah. No, they had Texas A&M, Corpus Christi.
Yeah. Obviously it was 16 seed. Obviously, I guess, this year. But I don't think they haven't been tested yet. San Diego State's going to be the first test. And if they're able to get past San Diego State, which I do think they will, so I will go ahead and fill that in as we are in agreement there.
I agree with you on that one.
They will take on, in my opinion, Creighton. Princeton's a good basketball team. They had their upset with Arizona. They had another upset with Missouri, which they looked spectacular against Missouri, dominated the entire game.
Yeah.
But at some point, your luck runs out, and this Creighton team has been absolutely spectacular this entire tournament. They just everything I just said about Princeton against Missouri was what Creighton did to Baylor. They just dominated the entire game.
Yeah.
It was I think they were up like 27-15, and it was never looking back. They kind of just maintained the 10 to 15 point range the entire time. Baylor was really never a threat. Keontae George had a spectacular game. Flagler did nothing. Cryer did nothing. It was Cryer that had a spectacular game. And then George and Flagler really did nothing. So Creighton looks great right now. I think Creighton moves through pretty comfortably here.
Yeah, no, I agree. It really makes you think when you look back at the beginning of the year for Creighton. They started out 6-0, got all the way up to number 10, and then went on a 6-game losing streak because Ryan Kalkbrenner was out with an injury. It really makes you think what could have been of this Creighton team, or not what could have been because they're doing it right now, but what seed would they have been if they were healthy the whole year? And I legitimately think they could have ran away. I think they could have ran away with the Big East and literally probably could have been a 2 or 3 seed.
I think we've seen the Big East. It definitely is not. They've had a good tournament, but they're not as strong as we thought they are outside of Creighton. So if you take Creighton out of the picture, if Creighton's healthy all year, if they play, to the caliber of basketball they're playing right now all year, we've seen Xavier should have lost to Kennesaw State.
Yeah, right? you look at the draws the other Big East teams had, and you look at Xavier's draw, they really had a cakewalk. Mm-hmm. Iowa State decided they didn't want to show up and play basketball in their first game, only putting up 4 points in the first 14 minutes of the game.
Yeah,
You
and
have
then
to play
also
Kennesaw State.
putting up the 15 minutes into the second half, they had 7 points in the second half.
I'll
Iowa
say they
State.
did it. Yeah, they did it again.
Yeah, like it was a pathetic showing from Iowa State. Pitt was not good enough to win that game. Iowa State played pathetic, and so Xavier lucked out there. You should have lost to Kennesaw State, and then you were able to play a lackadaisical Pitt team. You beat them comfortably.
Yeah, exactly.
And then UConn. I mean, UConn's looked good. I don't want to take anything away from UConn.
No, they played really well.
But Marquette looked miserable. I was at for their first round game against Vermont because it was right after the Michigan State USC game. I was at that, and Vermont's got to be one of the worst college basketball teams I've ever watched. That game, it was like, it was so many times where like we get a rebound, we turn it over, throwing it to our point guard on the outlet pass. Yeah. And, we have their 5-out driving kick type of offense, but they don't have anybody that can penetrate. So it makes that offense really difficult to run. But Vermont was terrible, and Marquette did not look great against them. They definitely did not look good against Michigan State.
Looked awful.
And we will get into my Spartans later, don't you worry.
We will definitely get into that.
But I think this Big East, I think Creighton's comfortably the best team in the Big East. And this matchup that we have right here, Bama Creighton in the Elite Eight, is going to be a spectacular.
That might be game of the year besides the championship game.
It really could be. I'm looking at like the West and East. I don't like whoever wins the Sweet 16 matchups. I don't think that we see a matchup in the Elite Eight that's even close to this. Mm-hmm. Maybe in the Midwest if we get a Houston, Texas. Maybe, but
yeah, I mean, there's a chance for that.
But Bama Creighton's just going to be a really, really fun game to watch, I think. Yeah, so we will go ahead and we will just stick with the Sweet 16 games. We'll head down to the East with FAU coming on top on Memphis with a late winner, and then also able to beat FDU, not their expected opponent. FDU with just a spectacular upset over Purdue, and we did call it. We called it.
We did.
3 weeks ago when we said Purdue's guard play is absolutely awful.
And it reared its ugly head.
And when you put an inexperienced, rough backcourt with a good team, it's just a recipe for disaster in March Madness because they got sped up.
Yeah,
Braden Smith looked miserable that game.
It was so obvious, too, because, I mean, like we said, are these freshman guards, unexperienced freshman guards, going to be able to hit a big shot or hit open shots when they need to? And it simply came down to that. Whenever they would go down, they'd give the ball to Edey. He'd get tripled. He'd pass it out to a wide open Foster Loyer.
Fletcher.
Or Fletcher Loyer. Miss.
Yeah.
Give it to him again. Miss.
And not even mentioning, so Fletcher Loyer couldn't hit, water if he fell out of a boat.
Yeah.
And then Braden Smith was just turning the ball over like it was his job. I mean, he looked like a prime Russell Westbrook out there. Like it was
all around bad.
I mean, exactly everything that we predicted went wrong. It wasn't the round we expected it to happen in.
No.
But it went wrong, and you got to tip your hat to Tobin Anderson and in this FDU team because it's just absolutely spectacular.
He's got himself a massive pay raise too.
Yeah, have you seen anything about the pay yet or no?
I haven't seen it yet, but I did hear it's going to be 6 figures. So that's
good
already more than what he was making. I couldn't believe he's only making $30,000 a year.
Think of that. He's getting at least like 150% pay raise then.
Yeah, crazy.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Awesome for him. Yeah. Awesome for him. But so we have FAU, not a commonly predicted team in the Sweet 16, but we have them there. And we have Tennessee, who is a commonly picked upset again in the round of 64. We see them come out on top. And then we against Louisiana. And then we have them beat Duke. And Duke was a very common pick here. I had Duke in my Final Four. I thought Duke looked spectacular against Oral Roberts. I thought they were going to carry it on. They looked terrible against Tennessee. Tennessee's defense was wonderful that game.
I'll tell you what, I want to tip a cap to both of these teams, FAU and Tennessee. FAU, they obviously won it on not a buzzer beater, but basically a game winner against Memphis. I mean, that was a killer. Obviously, they got help because DeAndre Williams got in foul trouble and Kendrick Davis got hurt. But still, they fought to the end. There was multiple times where you were thinking, all right, Memphis is running away with this. This game's over. You don't got to worry about them. But they fought back. And then against a really hungry Fairleigh Dickinson team where multiple times Fairleigh Dickinson cut it to a 1-score game or even tied it. FAU just kept battling and increasing their lead. And then, you know what? You look at Tennessee. First round, they were up, I want to say 18, as much as 18-20 on Louisiana.
Mhm.
Louisiana punched them back in the face with like 8 minutes to go in the second half, cut it to like I think a 6-point game, and almost completed the upset. And then you look at when they played Duke. You know, a lot of people, and I put myself in this group, thought Duke was going to run away with this game. It wasn't even going to be close. You know what? I give credit to Rick Barnes and, his coaching staff, because you know what they said? We're going to come out. We're going to play really aggressive basketball. We're going to bring the toughness to you. And they did just that, because you know what? It was men against boys. And you could tell because from the first play when Plavsic got that foul against Filipowski, you could tell, like, all right, this is going to be a hard-fought game. You know, he basically elbowed him in the face, knocked him down. Like, he's like, you know what? I'm bringing the intensity to you. And you know what he did? All he did was made Filipowski curl up in a ball in the corner, and he was scared to play the whole rest of the game.
Yeah, he was. He was, and Roach was in foul trouble as well, which was huge.
Without Tyrese Proctor, I mean, they probably lose by 30 points.
Tyrese Proctor was the one bright side for this Duke team in that game, but their toughness was just terrible. I'll tell you what, like you said, you have to tip your hat to Tennessee here. I think Tennessee comes out on top against FAU. I think Tennessee's defense is just too good.
They're too tough.
Yeah, they're too tough to really be able, for FAU to be able to hang with them. It's a huge step up to everything FAU's played yet. I think that even like in the first round, if you take away Kendrick Davis's injury, I think that they win. I think Memphis wins.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to go with Tennessee here. And then we get down to the Kansas State, Michigan State game.
This to be a great game. This is in the Garden, isn't it?
Yes, it is at the Garden.
Wow.
I'll tell you what, my Spartans, if you would have told me that we were going to make 5 3-pointers in the first round against USC, I would have told you we're probably going to lose. If you would have told me we go 2 of 16 from 3-pointer or from 3-point range against the 2 seed in our region, I would have told you we'd be lucky to keep it within 20.
Yeah, and there was no shot.
And we nearly won by double digits.
Crazy, absolutely crazy. Your guys' defense, you did what most teams do when they're not shooting the ball well. You make up what you don't have on the offensive end with your defensive end, and you did a great job of turning over Tyler Kolek and just making Marquette feel uncomfortable. I want to say he finished with, I think we talked about it was 7 or 8 turnovers, and he only had 8 points? I think it was many points as turnovers.
I think it was 7. I double checked it after we talked about it too. 7.6 turnovers is what he finished with.
Yeah, and that was your Big East Player of the Year. So
second team All-American, right?
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, it's just, maybe was the stage too big for him? I don't know, or was it just the fact that Michigan State was that aggressive and played that good at defense that they were able to turn him over?
Yeah, I don't know, but I'll tell you what. If you have the third, statistically, the third best 3-point shooting team as far as 3-point percentage, that has been terrible from 3-point range in 2 back-to-back games and still won both games, that is very scary for Kansas State, because you're beating the 2 seed and you're beating a 10 seed. I mean, not that the 10 seed is a huge deal, but you're beating the 2 seed in the region while having a horrendous game from 3-point range when you're statistically third in the nation at that. I'm pretty scared to play you, because when you do make shots, what's going to happen then?
Exactly. You turn that 9-point win into a 29-point win.
Yeah, no kidding. We got outscored from 3-point range by 21 points in that game against Marquette, and we won the game by 9 points. So
it's crazy to think about. It really is.
It is absolutely crazy. But I will say that this matchup against Kansas State is good for Michigan State too. I mean, Keontae Johnson and Noel are 2 absolutely spectacular players. And their Kansas State revolves around those 2 guys. But I will say that Tyson Walker is a normally undersized guard that will be the bigger guard in this situation.
He's got the perfect matchup.
And then also you have Joey Hauser and Malik Hall, 2 perfect, builds to be able to defend Keontae Johnson, and they have been defending absolutely spectacular this past week and a half. I will say that if the lineup gets to where it is Noel guarding Hogard, Izzo has not been scared to do this all year. He will just put Hogard in the post. And Noel will be, I mean, that is a 6-inch and at least like 80-pound difference. That is a severe disadvantage. So I think it's going to be interesting. Now, Noel could pick apart Michigan State's defense as well. But we did just see, one of the best assist guys in the nation in Tyler Kolek turn the ball over a ton. So, Michigan State's played against a similar point guard and a ball heavy point guard that wants to create passes and play risky a little bit. So they might be able to turn over Noel, a lot. But how do you see this game going here?
You know what? I think this, out of any other matchup that possibly could happen for Michigan State, I honestly think this is the best one for them. I really, really do. I feel like these teams kind of both play the same way. You never know what you're going to get. Like you said, they either could both go off for 8 to 9 threes, or they both can make 2. But they're both so good on the defensive end of the basketball. Like we saw it both in their previous games, Michigan State against Marquette and then Kansas State against Kentucky. The defense was fantastic. Kansas State played great defense. Whenever they needed to get a big stop, they got it. Whenever they needed a big shot, they got it. Mm-hmm. Most people really did not see Kansas State getting this game. Most people had Kentucky chalked in, and I think both of these teams are really playing their best basketball at the right time. So I honestly could see if Michigan State shoots the ball well and makes, I'd say, at least 7 threes, I think Michigan State walks away with this and they get to the next round against Tennessee.
So I'm not going to make this pick. I'm leaving this completely in your court because this is an extremely biased opinion that I have. Who are we taking here in this bracket? Are we taking Kansas State or are we taking Michigan State?
You know what? Let's take Michigan State. No bias out of me. Let's take Michigan State. I actually think Michigan State this is the best matchup they could have gotten.
I'd love to hear that right there. I will. Okay, I nothing else to say for now. We're going to get to that in a second. We get to the Tennessee Michigan State matchup as well. But let's head over to the Midwest here. So we have Houston, Miami. Miami survives the first round against Drake, and it was close. And then they go and just wall up IU. They made IU look bad. We talked about IU having a real lack of guard play out of other than Hood Schifino. And Hood Schifino looked wonderful in that game. But their guards other than him,
showed for Indiana. They didn't have anybody. It showed. It was bad.
It really did. So that's going to be a good matchup. Then we have Xavier, Texas. This is probably the most regular region here, most standard region. We have the 1, 2, 3, 5.
Yep.
So the 3 seed I think is extremely fraudulent in X. I think Texas rolls Xavier. I think so. We can both agree with that one there.
Yeah, I agree. I think Texas has way too many good guards. I mean, usually whenever X plays a team, they don't have enough. The other team doesn't have enough guards where they can guard 1 through 3, but also where they have more than one person who can guard Sully Boom. And I think Texas has 3, possibly 4 people who can guard Sully Boom. And that's going to be a humongous problem for X in this game because, one, they're a slower team than Texas. Texas, their starting center in Dylan DeSue, who went off from 24 against Colgate, absolutely was the star of the show, has been playing a great tournament. He's just so much quicker than Nungy. Once you tire out Nungy and you get him in foul trouble, who else are you going to bring in? They got the number four guy named Edwards, last name Edwards. He's not good. He's horrible.
I think the pick and roll is going to be extremely valuable because of the, like you just mentioned, the agility and the speed difference. And it's going to really exploit Nungy's lack thereof in that pick and roll. But I agree. I think Texas, when you have Sir'Jabari Rice and Marcus Carr, I'll tell you what, with a name like Sir'Jabari Rice, we should be picking Texas to the final right now.
Yeah, Sir'Jabari Rice is so dominant. I mean, he's a six man of the year in the Big 12, and he is dominant. He would start on any other team he went to, but he was completely fine with coming in, taking the back road, being the first guy off the bench. And I think in his last 8 games, 9 games, he's been averaging probably close to 18 points a game. He's just been tearing it up.
Yeah, I mean, with 3 guards in Timmy Allen, Marcus Carr, and Sir'Jabari Rice, those are three really good guards, and we talk about it all the time. Great guard play leads to a deep run in March Madness. I think Texas gets at least to an Elite 8 here. Let's go up to this Houston-Miami game, though, because Isaiah Wong and the Hurricanes here look really good. Despite the first-round scare against Drake, they've really pulled away here. but Marcus Sasser continues to get healthier. Jamal Shed is continuing to get healthier.
Yep.
And this is just a nice matchup because you have Sasser, who could have won Defensive Player of the Year in the AAC if he didn't win Player of the Year. Like if they would have been okay with giving him both, they would have.
Yeah.
And the guy, so he didn't get Defensive Player of the Year. The guy that did, Jamal Shed. So you have two really good defensive guards to take on Isaiah Wong here. This is going to be a really good game. I have a lean. I want to hear your thoughts on the game here, though.
So, I've obviously watched Houston play a lot this year. A lot. I would say probably at least 10 times. But I've also seen Miami play a lot. Miami, it's interesting with them. They don't play any defense. And that's a humongous problem. They don't play a lick of defense. Coach Larinaga doesn't believe in it. He's going to try to outscore you.
Mm-hmm.
But then you look who you're playing. You got Houston, one of the best, if not the best defensive team in the country. But at the same time, not only are they so good on the defensive end, they have 2 or 3 of the best guards in the country that can all score. And then they also
they
have
definitely do not
Jarius
lack
Walker down low. So it's like you have so many weapons that it's almost like you said, if Shed and Sasser can lock up Nigel Pack and Wong, I don't see Houston having a singular problem in this game. And I think they can honestly win this game by 12 plus points.
Okay, that was my lean, was Houston. So I completely agree with you there. And so we do have the only 1-2 matchup in the Elite Eight that we will see here. But I do want to get into this West region. So this West region is a weird Sweet 16. However,
very, very weird.
I do want to toot my own horn a little bit because in the West region, in my bracket that was officially posted to the Sports Geeks Instagram, my West region is still perfect. So
yeah, I'm getting whomped in that. My bracket is not good.
I have to say this has got to be one of the best years for my bracket. But I did have Arkansas over Kansas. I've been perfect in this one. I have Gonzaga and UConn coming out of this here. I do think UConn kind of runs over Arkansas. Arkansas is a good team, but we've seen how inconsistent they've been. I think UConn is just dominant. And when it comes to actually like scoring the ball against UConn's defense, when it comes to Arkansas having to get a clutch stop, I don't think Arkansas could do that. I think UConn kind of, I don't want to say steamrolls them, but I think it's a 10 to 12 point game here.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Arkansas ended up, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to say it. I think they got lucky. They got lucky and ended up pulling one out late against Kansas. Kansas was control of that game for most of the game. Down the stretch, they got a little lackadaisical with the ball. They started to, not really care. It almost looked like. But Arkansas, they're an interesting team. They obviously haven't been healthy all year. Nick Smith Jr. hasn't played all year. He's had multiple stints where he's been out 4, 5, 6 games, but they're healthy now. And that's what we were always saying all year, talking about watch out for this Arkansas team once they get healthy. Because once they get healthy, they're a legitimate Final Four contender. Now, are they good enough to beat UConn? I don't think so. I think UConn, like you just said, they're on the offensive end. They are insanely good. They shoot the lights out of the ball whenever they really want to. And they're on one of these stretches where not only – I'm not saying they're on a winning stretch because, they got to win the games in the tournament. Go back to the Big East tournament. They were on fire. And they only lost by 2 to Marquette. And they had every opportunity to win that game and had a shot at the end to win it.
Right.
You look at a UConn team, they got some really good guards in Tristan Newton and Hawkins. They both can shoot the ball very well, create their own shot. Then you can throw it down low to Sanogo, and you can also bring in Klingon. And, it's like they got enough depth at every position to where I think they have absolutely no problem getting past Arkansas here.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think this Gonzaga-UCLA game might be the best game on this Sweet 16 slate.
This is my favorite for sure.
This is going to be such a good game. I know you and I both had Gonzaga coming here. And Gonzaga showed stints of being terrible and of being wonderful against TCU. Obviously, they're playing a TCU team without Lampkin, right?
Yeah.
But with a Mike Miles that played wonderful. 8 of 13 from the floor. I mean, he was spectacular. But this Gonzaga team, if you look at what went wrong for them in that game, Strother went 3 for 10 from the floor. Anton Watson went 3 for 8 from the floor. Timme went 12 of 21, which is crazy as it sounds. Really is like a pretty typical shooting, like field goal percentage for him.
Yeah.
So like Timme he played really well, but it was just a lot of shots going towards him because Watson and Strother couldn't do anything. I
feel like that's kind of been the narrative all year for this Gonzaga team.
Mm-hmm.
You look in games that have been close for them or games that they've lost. It is because of the lack of production around Drew Timme.
Mm-hmm.
You look at it, you'll have Strother who'll, like you said, he'll either go 3 of 10 or he'll go 7 of 10. You just don't know what you're going to get. You really never know. And it didn't help Anton Watson. He got a few fouls, so he was kind of out of it, playing a little bit scared, I'd say, or a little bit cautious because he didn't want to, foul out or anything like that. But if they want to win and they want to make it to the championship, you have to be able to have Drew Timme put up the numbers that he did against TCU. But Anton Watson also has to be able to put up at least 10 and give you 7 points.
Yeah, I completely agree. However, I will say this. I think that UCLA offensively is too, predictable. I think it's very Jaquez and Bailey only, really. So Campbell is good. Tyger
He'll make a few shots, but he does not really. Tyger. I feel like Tyger Campbell is more of all right, they locked down Jaime, they locked down Amari Bailey. We need someone to make a shot, so we're just going to toss the ball out to Tyger because they're playing off him and he hits a timely 3 or something. I feel like that's kind of the only way you get something out of him. That or if he drives and somehow gets a foul call and he makes some free throw.
So here's my problem with UCLA here. So like I just said, they're very Jaquez Bailey dependent. Jaquez and Bailey had 38 of their 68. If you include Tyger Campbell, who was 0 for 7 from the floor and 12 for 12 from the line. And if you watch that game, nearly all of his points were late in the game.
Yeah, late game garbage fouls to try to keep Northwestern in the game.
Correct. And so if you include him in there, that's 50 of their 68 points from guards. And I think that Strother is a perfect matchup for Jaquez. I mean, he's a very big guard. You also look at some of the guys that Gonzaga has here that they can throw onto Bailey or Jaquez or Campbell. I mean, somebody like Malachi Smith plays very, very solid defense.
They have 2 of the better, I'd say, defensive guards probably in the country, Malachi Smith and Rasir Bolton.
Yeah, and I was just about to say Rasir Bolton is a perfect matchup for Amari Bailey. So I think that UCLA is going to be real trouble here. I also don't think UCLA can guard Drew Timme at all. I think Drew Timme's going to have a heyday.
And UCLA also so many injuries.
Yes.
We were worried coming to this tournament that, losing Jaden Clark, literally the best defender in the country, most people would say was going to be a problem. But what we didn't see is the fact that we're going to lose 2 more people throughout this tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, you have Adem Boma playing, but he's hurt. You can tell he's hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Something is wrong with his shoulder, but he's toughing it out because he wants to keep playing because it's the NCAA tournament. You know how many chances you're actually going to get to keep coming back and playing. So he's playing through it. But then, I mean, they also had the ankle injury to, I want to say it was Singleton, correct?
I believe so.
And Mick Cronin, I mean, that was a bad ankle injury. Mick Cronin tried to tell the media, he's going to be fine. Nothing else. Just stone cold face. He's going to be fine. And they're like, are you sure? Are you aware? Did you see how bad, how bad he rolled his ankles? We talked to him. It's going to be fine. So, I don't know. Yoma's got a UCLA team that's coasting in on Fubes to this game. They're walking in. They're going to walk to the court. Half their team's got crutches, got a walking boot. They're bruised. They're battered. And I just think Gonzaga, this is just their year. They got put out west. They got bumped to a 3 seed because a team stole a championship to get bumped up to a 2 in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to be playing close to home almost. You're playing in Vegas. It's all aligning for this to be the year that Mark Few gets the job done. Now, am I saying they're going to do it? I don't know. I don't think they will. I think it's going to be really tough for them to beat a team like Bama or a team like Creighton,
or even
really hot.
or even Texas
or even
if you
a
were to look
Texas
at the
or
Final
Houston.
Four.
It's going to be really interesting to see. But I really think that they can easily get through Gonzaga or get through UCLA. And I saw the line for this, and I couldn't believe it was trending up to like Gonzaga +2.5, +3. And I just think that's really disrespectful because Gonzaga is by far the better team.
I agree. I think that Gonzaga, like we said, we had Anton Watson's in foul trouble. You have a lot of things go wrong. TCU is miles ahead of Northwestern, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so Gonzaga beats the better team with several things going wrong.
After being down 8-9 points, too.
Yeah. I think that Gonzaga, I mean, you're looking at UCLA, who is the 103rd best rebounding team in the nation. This Gonzaga team is going to have a heyday on the glass.
Yeah.
Watson and Timmy specifically are just going to eat. I think that Gonzaga rolls through this game. I think it's probably a 4 to 7 point game, but I think it gets a lot closer as the game rolls on. I'm going to take Gonzaga here.
The only thing I could see for Gonzaga being a problem is their free throw shooting. We went through with it on TCU against TCU. They were never going to the line and knocking down 2-2.
Yeah,
they were never doing it. They were always going 1-2, or in some cases going 0-2. They really struggle to shoot the free throw. And I don't know. We'll see. I think that they'll be able to, make enough to where they're not going to have to worry about it. But if it does come down to free throws, I'd be a little bit nervous, just a little.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that statement. So I know we've spent a long time talking here. So let's just keep moving through these. We'll go head back up to the South. We have Bama Creighton, which we already talked about. Such a good matchup. If you had to just pick one off the top of your head, who do you think you go with here?
I hate to be just the chalk guy, but I'm going to have to go with Bama. I just think Bama's all around better. Creighton's been playing really good basketball, but Kalkbrenner, I don't think is going to be enough to will Alabama or to will Creighton to a win against Alabama. And I don't see Nembhard being able to dominate Sears or Quinterly. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, I like the way he's been able to dominate the guards recently. I would agree. I'm going to roll with Bama as well. I hate to do it, just the chalk guy, but we'll stick with that. Let's head down to the East region. I'm not having any input here on the Michigan State-Tennessee game. I'm leaving this all to you. Who are you taking in this game?
This one's really interesting because I don't like Tennessee and I don't want to like Tennessee. But you look and you see what they do to a team like Duke, who a lot of people thought were destined to make a run because considering how hot they were playing down the stretch, and they got this great draw. I don't know. It's just I feel like Tennessee's defense and how physical they play are just going to be too much for Michigan State. Considering you do look at Tennessee, Tennessee's I would say in my opinion the bigger team.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to down low and just in general, I would say 3 to 5, they're the bigger team. Well, really, you could say 1 through 5, they're the bigger team, except for maybe the 2 position.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Keys to the game for this one is, can Michigan State get a little bit of a faster tempo and try to get some garbage buckets in transition? Because I think they're going to need that a lot against a team like Tennessee, because Tennessee's going to take the air out of the ball, and Tennessee has no problem winning this game 50-48.
Mm-hmm.
No problem doing it. I hate to do it to you, but I think I'm going to have to pick Tennessee in this one. If they get this far, I think they have to get to the Final Four. I really do.
That's all right. I'll tell you what, if you would have told me coming into the tournament that Michigan State's going to make the Elite Eight, I would have been stoked.
Yeah, but I think that's a pick'em game. I really do. I could go either way.
Yeah, well, I mean, Tom Izzo is going to win a championship this year, and that's my thoughts. So,
it wouldn't surprise me, and I'd actually love it because I actually would love it. I'd put him into one of the greatest all-time coaches if he gets that second one.
Has to. I
really do.
But okay, so let's just head up to Houston, Texas. This is the battle of elite guards. You have Jamal Shead, Marcus Sasser going against Sir'Jabari Rice, Marcus Carr, Timmy Allen. What a game this would be. Who do you think comes out on top of this? I think I would probably lean towards Houston because the defensive ability of their guards, the dynamic ability of their guards. But I have Texas in my bracket, so I don't know how. It's a straight pick'em game in my mind.
Yeah, no, if it does come down and we get this game in the Elite Eight, I would not be surprised if the spread literally came out at -1 either way or pick 'em. It wouldn't surprise me one bit. These teams are just both so athletic and so good when it comes to creating shots and making open shots. My only problem with this is when I've watched Texas throughout this tournament, there's just not defense.
Mm-hmm.
They showed it against Colgate. I mean, there's just not defense.
No,
You let a group of mid-majors hang around with you for most of the game. You end up winning by, double digits, but they just never got stops. I almost felt like that sometimes it was too easy for Colgate to score.
mm-hmm.
And, obviously against Penn State, I felt like it was almost just easy for Jalen Pickett to score in that game as well. I mean, it's Jalen Pickett, but still, I just don't see Texas having the defensive mind to get a win like this. And I think Houston is just more complete when it comes to both sides of the ball.
I think also something too is if you're being generous, Texas is a okay defensive team.
Yeah.
If you're being harsh, Houston is a very good defensive team. Like Houston is realistically elite defensively, and Texas is realistically very poor defensively.
Yeah.
So, when you put those together, when you also have Houston who's wonderful offensively, I think it has to be Houston to come out in this game.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree because you look at it, who's going to guard Jarris Walker down low? I don't see Dylan DeSue being able to. I don't see Timmy Allen being to because Timmy Allen's only 6'6".
Mm-hmm.
Jarris Walker's 6'9", pushing 6'10", and he plays like a guard.
Yeah,
he can elevate his game beyond the 3-point arc, and he can knock down shots, and then he can take you off a dribble and hit a step back fadeaway. Like
yeah.
I watched him do it in the American tournament against UC. He's done it all year against teams in the American, and when they played Alabama, the dude is just dominant, and he can turn it on whenever he feels like it. I don't see Texas having anyone that can stop him. I really don't.
No, I completely agree. But I will say that Serge Barry Rice and Marcus Carr alone, not even mentioning Timmy Allen, can heat up big time.
Yeah.
And if they do it the right time, we've seen Houston play really, really bad in some games.
No, we've seen them play horrible.
And specifically on some big stages, like the AAC championship game against Memphis, they played absolutely horrendous. So we could see Houston really lay an egg here, which is not out of the question. But assuming they don't do that, we are going to have Houston in there. Now we have the UConn-Gonzaga game. I feel very strongly about one of these sides. Who do you think you have in here?
Yeah, I think we're leaning the same way. I think we're leaning the Bulldogs to get a pretty easy win against the Huskies here.
I completely agree. I don't know if there's much we need to even dive into there.
Gonzaga's just an all-around better team. I just don't.
They are.
Yeah, there's just nothing else to it.
UConn can score the lights out of the ball, so they could be able to. Both these teams just want to play offense. But I think that if you have to play defense, Gonzaga defensively is significantly better than UConn.
I got a question for you about the Houston versus Texas game, or even the Miami versus Houston game. If you're their opponent, and you saw what happened to them in that first round game, yes, Marcus Sasser was hurt. He didn't play the whole game. But why not run the 2-3 zone like NKU did? Ugly up the game and use your offensive firepower to get a win.
Do you think Miami's been implementing it all week?
I feel like I don't see why they wouldn't. I would. I mean,
the worst case scenario, you don't use it.
Yeah.
Until, maybe Houston starts playing well, right? You play the first half, you play the first 10 minutes completely regular, but as soon as something starts to go wrong, or maybe you go up by 8 or 10 and you say, screw it, let's throw it for 3 possessions. Yeah.
Because you look at it, NKU, they didn't play great, but they were great on the defensive end of uglying the game up. And you know what? They finished 5 of 33 from three-pointer. If they make some of those threes, it's a whole different game, and they're walking to the next round.
That game was an 11-point game, I think is what it ended. It was not an 11-point game.
No, it wasn't an 11-point game one bit, but it's like if NKU could have made shots and had any type of athleticism, any type of offense, they could have easily won that game. And that's where I've been thinking, I was like, if you know you're going to have to play Houston, why not try to chalk up a 2-3 zone, 3-2 zone, ugly this game up, because you have enough offensive firepower to win a ball game like this.
Yeah. I would tell you what, well, Texas really could use it because when you have somebody that's not that great in man-to-man defensively, like Texas, definitely could use something like that. But all right, let's head into this. Let's make this quick here with the Final Four. Bama, Tennessee, real quick. Who are you thinking here?
What were the finals of games they played earlier this year? Because I know Tennessee won at home against Bama. I don't know. Did Tennessee ever have to go play at Bama?
Give me just a second.
Because I know Tennessee won at home against Bama. That obviously was with Sakai Ziegler. So was the other one. But I'm interested to see what the score was when Tennessee had to go to Bama.
They never played at Alabama.
They never did? Okay. So that doesn't really help me much. So I'm just going to go with the safe pick. I'm going to go with Bama.
Okay. I think the lack of Zakai Ziegler will be exploited very badly here. Bama's length will really make Vescovi struggle when it comes to shooting.
And Bama's not going to be scared. And it also helps, too, they're going to be going for revenge because Bama was the number one team when they went into Tennessee, and Tennessee knocked them off because, once again, they played a defensive-minded game, uglied it up. But I think Bama's going to be ready to run the floor, and they're just going to mop the floor with Tennessee. It's going to be ugly.
I agree. Houston, Gonzaga here in the other Final Four. Who do you think comes out of this game?
This one's really interesting to me because you look at it, both really, really, really good teams. Obviously, one team's a little bit better on the defensive end than the other. Both teams can score the ball like no other. I think it honestly comes down to, can Gonzaga consistently score and not come out flat like they did against TCU? Because, TCU, I'm not saying TCU and Houston are the same team, but they're pretty close.
Very similar.
They both have very good guards. They both play very good defense. And, you looked at Gonzaga came out flat, and it was almost like they didn't want to be there against TCU, and that led them to go down 8-9 points at the end of the game. But I just think Gonzaga, honestly, is just so much bigger than Houston.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a problem because you're going to have Jarris Walker against Anton Watson. Anton Watson's bigger, older, more physical. And then who's going to guard Drew Timme? Reggie Chaney?
No, definitely not.
I don't know. I think Gonzaga is the better team here, and I think this is the game they win. I'm not going to say they win by 10. I'd say anywhere from 5 to 8 points. They get a W here.
I almost agree. I agree with you here. I think Houston has laid enough eggs this year that I don't think they can play three legit teams here and not lay an egg in one of them. Miami and Texas are both legit teams. Gonzaga absolutely is a legit team. I don't think you can go 3 games without laying one of them. They could lay an egg against Miami first round, first round, Sweet 16 here. But either way, I think this is going to be close.
I definitely agree.
Could go either way, but I'm going to ride with you with Gonzaga here, and I'm just going to ride with the safe pick in Alabama. I had them in my bracket winning it all to start at the beginning of the brackets here. I'm just going to stick with them. I think that Gonzaga is good. I think they actually match up decently well against them.
Yeah.
I think Alabama can just light it up from 3 in a huge stage like this.
I would love to see, if it does get to this point, I want to see the matchup of Julian Strawther versus Brandon Miller. I want to see that so bad.
Yeah.
Because those are 2 guards that are both going to go to the NBA. Obviously, one's going to be a top 3 pick. The other one will be a lottery pick, but I cannot wait to see that matchup if it gets to this point. And obviously, I have to take Gonzaga because I have them in my bracket to win it all. I can't go against them here. So it's understandable why you would go with Bama because, obviously you got Bama in your bracket. But I think this game really could end up going either way. It's probably going to be the first to 90 points wins this game. There's not going to be a lot of defense played in this game. But I think it'd be a great way to close it out. And it would be a great way for Gonzaga to get Mark Few his first national title.
I am going to ride with you on Gonzaga here. Obviously, I picked Bama in my bracket, so I do think they will win. But we can go ahead and make that as we submit the official Sports Geeks bracket here. But
I think there's a chance you might have already beat me. If I want to say if Bama gets to the finals, Bama's and Gonzaga get to the finals, I think you win no matter what.
I might, dude. I've had a very good bracket so far, so I feel pretty good about it. But
yeah, because I would need Gonzaga to win it all because you have Texas in the final, so I just need Gonzaga to win it all. That's not going to give me enough points to win because your bracket is definitely better than mine.
But all right, either way, we'll have we'll have once the Final Four is determined after this weekend, we'll have an episode that comes out talking about that. But other than that, this has been the Sports Geeks podcast. They play, we talk. Thanks for watching, guys.